Throughout history, power has often come at a devastating cost, with some leaders resorting to extreme measures to maintain control. In this video, we delve into the dark legacies of the top 10 bloodiest dictators in history, whose reigns were marked by violence, oppression, and mass atrocities. From genocides to purges, these figures wielded their authority with an iron fist, leaving behind a trail of suffering and death. Number 10. Francisco Franco. Francisco Franco, the Spanish dictator who ruled from 1939 to 1975, is infamous for his authoritarian regime and brutal suppression of dissent. His rise to power followed the Spanish Civil War, during which he led nationalist forces against the Republicans. Franco's regime was marked by political repression, censorship, and the execution of thousands of political opponents. While his death toll is significant, it pales in comparison to higher-ranked dictators, as his policies primarily focused on maintaining control rather than widespread genocide. Franco's legacy is complex. He modernized Spain's economy, but at the cost of civil liberties. Number 9. Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein, the former president of Iraq from 1979 to 2003, is notorious for his ruthless dictatorship and the brutal tactics he employed to maintain power. His regime was characterized by widespread human rights abuses, including the use of chemical weapons against Kurdish civilians during the Anfal campaign, which resulted in thousands of deaths. While his reign was marked by significant violence, including the Iran-Iraq War and the Gulf War, the estimated death toll is lower than that of higher-ranked dictators. Saddam's ability to manipulate regional politics and his defiance against international norms set him apart, but his legacy is overshadowed by the catastrophic consequences of his actions. Number 8. Mengistu Haile Mariam. Mengistu Haile Mariam, the leader of Ethiopia from 1977 to 1991, is infamous for his brutal Marxist regime and the Red Terror campaign, which aimed to eliminate political opposition. Under his rule, an estimated 500,000 people were killed, with many subjected to torture, imprisonment, and execution. Mengistu's government implemented radical land reforms and collectivization, leading to widespread famine and suffering, particularly during the 1980s. His reliance on violence to maintain control sets him apart from lower-ranked dictators, as he actively sought to eradicate perceived threats to his power. While his death toll is significant, it is overshadowed by the atrocities committed by those ranked higher. Number 7. Kim Il-sung. Kim Il-sung, the founding leader of North Korea from 1948 until his death in 1994, is notorious for establishing a totalitarian regime characterized by extreme repression and cult-like adoration. His rule saw the implementation of the Korean War, which resulted in millions of deaths and widespread devastation. Kim's regime was marked by severe human rights abuses, including forced labor camps and purges of political dissidents, with estimates of deaths ranging from hundreds of thousands to millions. Unlike some dictators who relied on external conflicts, Kim focused on internal control, fostering a pervasive atmosphere of fear and loyalty. Number 6. Hideki Tojo. Hideki Tojo, the Prime Minister of Japan during much of World War II, is infamous for his role in orchestrating Japan's military aggression across Asia, leading to widespread atrocities. Under his leadership, the Imperial Japanese Army committed horrific acts, including the rape of Nanking, where hundreds of thousands of Chinese civilians were killed and brutalized. Tojo's militaristic policies and expansionist ambitions resulted in millions of deaths across occupied territories. His unique position as both a military leader and a political figure allowed him to implement aggressive strategies that prioritized conquest over human rights. While his death toll is staggering, it is eclipsed by the more systematic genocides of higher-ranked dictators. Number 5. Pol Pot. Pol Pot, the leader of the Khmer Rouge and Prime Minister of Cambodia from 1976 to 1979, is notorious for his radical communist regime that sought to create an agrarian utopia. His policies led to the Cambodian genocide, resulting in the deaths of an estimated 1.7 million people, nearly a quarter of the country's population. Pol Pot's regime targeted intellectuals, professionals, and anyone perceived as a threat, employing brutal tactics such as forced labor, starvation, and mass executions. Unlike some dictators who maintained power through military might, Pol Pot's vision was rooted in extreme ideological purity, making his reign particularly devastating. Number 4. Leopold II of Belgium. Leopold II of Belgium, who reigned from 1865 to 1909, is infamous for his brutal exploitation of the Congo Free State, which he personally owned. Under his rule, millions of Congolese people suffered horrific abuses, including forced labor, mutilation, and mass killings, as Leopold sought to extract rubber and ivory for profit. Estimates suggest that between 10 to 15 million people perished due to his oppressive policies and the resulting famine. Unlike many dictators who ruled through direct political control, Leopold's atrocities were driven by economic greed and colonial ambition, making his reign particularly insidious. Number 3. Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler, the Führer of Nazi Germany from 1934 to 1945, is one of history's most notorious dictators, responsible for the deaths of approximately 11 million people during the Holocaust and millions more in World War II. His regime was marked by extreme anti-Semitism, leading to the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews, alongside the persecution of various minority groups. Hitler's aggressive expansionist policies ignited a global conflict, resulting in the deaths of an estimated 70 to 85 million people. Unlike other dictators, Hitler's ideology was rooted in a perverse vision of racial purity, making his atrocities particularly chilling. Number 2. Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin, the leader of the Soviet Union from the mid-1920s until his death in 1953, is infamous for his totalitarian regime and the widespread purges that defined his rule. Responsible for the deaths of an estimated 20 million people, Stalin's policies included forced collectivization, which led to famine and suffering, particularly during the Holodomor in Ukraine. His Great Terror campaign targeted perceived enemies within the Communist Party and the general populace, resulting in mass executions and imprisonments. Unlike Hitler, whose genocide was racially motivated, Stalin's purges were driven by political paranoia and ideological conformity. His ranking at number 2 reflects the staggering scale of his atrocities, setting the stage for the most devastating figure in our countdown, whose actions would leave an indelible mark on history. Number 1. Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong, the founding father of the People's Republic of China, ruled from 1949 until his death in 1976 and is responsible for the deaths of an estimated 45 million people during his Great Leap Forward and Cultural Revolution campaigns. His radical policies aimed at transforming China into a socialist society led to widespread famine, forced labor, and mass executions. The Great Leap Forward, intended to rapidly industrialize the nation, resulted in one of the deadliest famines in history. Unlike other dictators, Mao's ideology was deeply rooted in Marxist-Leninist principles, making his actions particularly devastating as they were framed as revolutionary. His ranking at number 1 underscores the unparalleled scale of his atrocities, solidifying his legacy as history's bloodiest dictator, whose impact continues to resonate in contemporary discussions about governance and human rights. In this exploration of the top 10 bloodiest dictators in history, we have uncovered the chilling legacies of figures like Franco, Saddam Hussein, Mengistu Haile Mariam, Kim Il-sung, Hideki Tojo, Pol Pot, Leopold II of Belgium, Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and the infamous Mao Zedong. Each of these leaders left a profound mark on history through their oppressive regimes and staggering death tolls, driven by greed, ideology, or paranoia. As we reflect on these dark chapters, it's crucial to remember the lessons of the past and the importance of safeguarding human rights. We encourage you to delve deeper into the stories of these dictators and the impact of their actions. Understanding history is vital to ensuring that such atrocities are never repeated. Join us as we uncover the chilling stories of these infamous leaders and the impact they had on their nations and the world. Prepare for a gripping journey through history's darkest chapters.